Today's video, we're going to take a look at our 2017 Subaru WRX STI and compare it to our 2016 Subaru WRX. So we're going to take a quick look inside and out just to take a look at the condition of the inside and out of each car and then drive them around to see what the differences are. And then to start off, some of the differences you're going to notice are the wheels for the WRX versus the STI. You also get Brembo brakes on the STI, however you get the normal braking system for the WRX. We have similar side profiles, body panels are all the same. And then coming to the rear, we can get another good look at the wheel and brakes. Then coming to the rear end of the vehicle, these do have different exhaust systems on them, both bone stock vehicles however, and then the same type of rear diffuser. So we'll take another close look. Really the wheels are the biggest thing you're going to notice first looking at them, and of course the braking system. And then if we get to the front of the cars, same hood scoops and everything, both have top mounted intercoolers. Then we just get the STI badge in the STI. And then to go ahead and take a look at the interiors for both cars, we're going to start with the WRX. This features a full black leather interior. We have black leather along the door panel with some red stitching, all of your normal controls and everything, a Harman Kardon audio system. Coming inside, black steering wheel with more red stitching, and then full black leather seating, red stitching on it. Get a good look at the shapes and everything. Silver trim throughout the interior with the touchscreen display. Nice carbon fiber trim along the interior as well. Then you also get the digital display up top that shows boost gauges and various other settings like that. So that is a quick look at the WRX. Get a good look. And then as we make our way over to the STI, this one, however, has a lot of black Alcantara, a little bit more red stitching compared to the WRX. Everything else on the door panel is going to be the same. We also have the aluminum pedals on both cars. Then this one has black Alcantara in the center of the seats. Then you get red leather as well. You get STI up top in the headrest, giving it a really nice look. And then red stitching as well. Now the WRX that we are looking at, that one is a limited, so that is a fully loaded, more luxury spec. So it has a power seat and a sunroof. This one does have manual seats. However, the limited version of the STI, this is actually going to be leather rather than Alcantara. However, I do like the Alcantara better. It gives you a lot of grip in the seat. This one also has carbon fiber in the center versus just being silver and black. And then everything else is pretty much laid out the same. The only other big difference you're going to notice in the STI, you're going to get all your controls for your differential. And then last up, we're going to take another look at everything turned on. So right now we are in the STI. We'll go ahead and start this one up. So you can see in the center there where it says diff. So we can go here controlling where the differential is, the different modes and everything like that. So if we toggle this up and down, we can change where the power is going to go in the differential. So all the way down here is more of a rear wheel bias, and as we go up it goes more and more towards even, and then that is a 50-50 lock. So it's really cool how this can be configured very rear wheel drive bias or very all wheel drive bias. And then twisting the knob all the way to the left is your sport mode, to the right is sport sharp, and then pressing it down is your intelligent mode. And then looking at it, it's really nice that it actually shows you a little graph of how everything looks. So that is your intelligent, that is sport, and then that is sport sharp, and that really basically shows you exactly how the power feels. And now in the WRX, being this is the limited, you get push button ignition, so just pressing the button, we'll start this one up. So very similar looking on the gauges. You don't have that same little screen in the center though, because this one doesn't have any type of changes for the driving modes. However, you get the same screen up here. You can see the boost gauge. You can go over to more things, looking at the all-wheel drive, all sorts of things. And then similarly laid out, you can see the silver trim rather than the carbon fiber trim down here. Both of these cars do have heated seats. So now under the hoods of each car, this is where a big difference is going to be. The WRX has a 2-liter 4-cylinder boxer engine. This one pumps out 268 horsepower and 258 pound-feet of torque. Definitely a lot of power. Of course, you're going to drive it around to see what it's like driving. And then as we make our way over to the STI, you can see just how they look differently. So that one, this engine is much more exposed looking. It has a larger intercooler. You can see the intake manifold. This car does have an upgraded blow-off valve on it. That is the only performance mod on it. Also has oil catch can on it. But the STI actually has a little bit larger displacing engine. This is a 2.5 liter rather than the 2 liter on the WRX. And then with the STI, you have 305 horsepower and 290 pound-feet of torque. So a pretty good amount of differences between the two engines as far as power goes. The power delivery, we're gonna find more about that once we're driving them. But that is a good look inside and out between the two cars. So right now we are in the WRX, driving it around, seeing what it's like. So just doing a slow acceleration like that. Around 3,000 RPM is where you feel the turbo kicking in. It's really quick to respond. Rev matching a few downshifts, really easy in this car. Heel toe. So now we'll do a second gear acceleration to see what that's like. Yeah, so above 3,000 is when the turbo kicks in. Definitely a nice responding engine. So now as we're just cruising on a back road with the car, it's a really composed vehicle. It's a sedan, it's a normal car really, and you can just drive it as your daily. It's just a normal car that can pretty much do anything. The layout of everything is really nice to mess with. Both of the cars obviously are the same car underneath, so they're both gonna drive exactly the same way as far as the daily driving aspects. But today's video, of course, we're gonna look at the performance between the two because you're buying these two cars. There's going to be a pretty noticeable price difference between the two cars, so it's enough to make you really take a look at which one you want to go with. This thing handles really well. You can feel how it's planted. The turbo in second gear, I mean, it just gets you right out. You're definitely not going to drive in the WRX thinking that it's a slow car at all. It has a nice amount of pep to it. I would say it has a lot of low-end response for the slow speed driving. But even third gear, the turbo is nice. A little bit of body roll, not a crazy amount, but you can feel it just swaying just a little bit. The shifter's responsive, and I think the brakes do a really good job. So I definitely don't notice any downfalls with the car. It's a very solid, daily drivable, all-wheel drive rally car type vehicle. So we're now in the STI. I have the control for right here in the sport setting. So sport sharp is the most powerful. We're gonna have it in the normal one. And then I have the differential in the 50-50 lock. Already I noticed the steering is actually a lot heavier feeling. So we'll do a small second gear acceleration in the car, but steering is definitely heavier. And then for the acceleration, there's more top end. I noticed that the power above 4,000 just keeps kind of going a little bit more. We'll go ahead and put it into the sport sharp mode. We'll slow down and do the same type of second gear acceleration. And real quick, the shifter is a lot shorter in this one. So now doing that, even more top end. So there is noticeably more power in the STI, especially in the sport sharp mode. We'll do another acceleration in intelligent mode to see how that compares. So we'll get to second gear. So driving this in intelligent actually feels very similar to the WRX. I think it just tones down the added power that this larger engine has and puts it pretty much on par with that one. So in sport sharp, that's definitely where I'd like to keep it for the STI. It is a noticeable improvement. Shifting is tighter and the steering is a little bit heavier and more solid feeling. And then just hitting the brakes a little bit and we'll come to a sharper turn now. I can feel a little bit less body roll, a little bit stiffer in the suspension feel, but definitely a pretty good noticeable difference as far as the acceleration. Brakes, yeah, brakes seem a little bit stronger as well. And then another thing I'm noticing when you play with the differential, if it's more rear wheel biased, the steering wheel is actually noticeably a little bit lighter. So towards, I'm not quite locked, but towards the lock position, it's a little bit heavier feeling, and then down to this, it's actually a lot lighter feeling. So kind of cool how changing that actually changes a lot of the dynamics of how the car behaves. So overall, the biggest differences in the cars definitely comes down to performance. This car is faster, has better brakes, tighter steering, a tighter shifter, more control over the transmission and differential and how the actual engine works. Now keep in mind with all these differences, you're looking at roughly a $5,000 difference between a similarly mileage and year WRX versus an STI. So that is a pretty big difference as far as money goes. Is it worth the difference? That really is up to you to see which one's which, but for $5,000 you can do a lot of modifications to a WRX WRX to make it outperform an STI. However, with an STI, you're starting with a much bigger platform. So there's definitely a noticeable difference between the two cars. They're both a lot of fun to drive. When you get in the WRX, you can just feel how it's great around town, has the low end pep to it just to zip you around and do everything you need to do, has a ton of performance to it. It's definitely a lot of fun to drive. When you hop into the STI, it's noticeably a step above it as far as performance goes. So you're getting a completely different car, and I think the pricing justifies which car you get. They're both fantastic, and for the price of each one, it's a really hard car to beat. So I think that about wraps up taking a look at the STI versus the WRX. So which one is a better car? That really does come down to your needs and your price range. Each car I think is very well worth the price that they go for. Both cars you're getting a ton for the money. And then actually looking at the two cars that I showed you in today's video, these things are in fantastic condition, both low mileage. This one has about 20,000 miles on it. Pretty much no signs of wear on either of the cars, and both cars have a lot to offer. So hope you enjoyed the video. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more videos of all of our inventory, and be sure to check out the link in the description below to see more information on both of these cars.